identity crisis. And, you know, right before we went on the break, we just basically told you, or I basically just told you, that Marianne here will be giving us more perspectives or solutions on how we can be core, you know, because to be fair, every turn of our lives give us a sort of, you know, it gives us a sort of a crisis. You know, whether you're getting a new job, whether you're getting fired, whether you are having a family, or you've lost a loved one, or the transitions can alter, you know, who you thought you were. So you believe you're not this particular person, right? So all that is part of this identity crisis, quote unquote. So Marianne, what are some of the things that, you know, one can do to just remain grounded? Activities, things, you know, when it comes to society, friends, and the like, what are these things and what do they look like?
I like that you've mentioned some of them, like friends and activities that we do. So like I had mentioned, we need to maybe find the things that we really love. In terms, when we talk about hobbies, you know, there are people who do things because other people do them. It's not like I love it. So find things that you really enjoy and that can really ground you, because you find that, like we mentioned, the changes are external, but you can actually do things that are within your control that don't really need to be dictated by the external factors. So let's say, for example, we've mentioned the jobs, but also remember things like divorces and separations. So you find that that's why we're saying we need to also have an identity, like a self-identity outside of that, of the marriage, of the job, of the school, so that you can always fall back into that. So go and find things that you love to do, things that really bring you joy. Take care of yourself, and that is where now the mental wellness, self-care comes in terms of taking care of my thoughts, in terms of taking care of my body, in terms of taking care of my emotions, like how do you really cope with the feelings, you know, even during the identity crisis, is mostly emotions and the thought processes of, oh my gosh, who am I now, how will people see me, all these things. You need to always find like solutions of how to manage them. So either you could write them down, you could talk to your friends, your family, like find people who will really ground you so that you don't really lose yourself.
I see. And how does this look for men and women? You know, men have their own journey, women have their own journey.
Yeah. You see, even if we have, of course, we have the gender differences in terms of even what we do, in terms of like, as women, we will like to go out with our girlfriends. The boys will want to go play football and or watch football. But then also at the core of it, there is the human that, you know, has certain values and they like to do certain things. So also we go back to that. So definitely there is layers to everything, but at the end of the day, come back to who you are as a person. So take care of yourself, do what makes you happy, find your values. And by values, we mean things like, I am an honest person, so I will not tolerate anything that, you know, lies and all these things. Or I like to be authentic, or I value, say, spirituality. So all these things will really ground you despite everything that may be happening. But also just speaking about these things will really come in handy, because, you know, people are usually like a sounding board. When I'm speaking and then you are like, sasa unasema nini? Maybe maybe you could do this and this and that. But also be very careful not to be influenced, because also there are people who can be easily influenced. They don't really know themselves, so they always take what other people say to be true. So just being careful and taking care of yourself holistically. Because even as we are mentioning the things like work, like marriage, that is just 1% of your life. There's other different areas of your life, so take care of all of them so that at least you will be grounded.
You said something so important, so important. I think when we look at the simplest structure of society, or like that Simon Makonde story of like born on a Monday is it, and then you know, dies on a, and now in the full context is, you're born, you grow up, you have education, you get married, you get a job, and you have your grandchildren, and you know, you're out. You know, if that is the actual, just most simplest context you're following. But when you're looking at a whole life. Like you said, that's just 1%. So there's so much more. They are the hobbies and the like. And especially in a day and age like right now, you can find so many things to do, so many things that you can teach yourself, and sometimes you don't even have to pay for. You can learn, you know, from the internet or from anything. So how do you expand your mind to be able to accommodate that, especially when you know just how to hustle? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have,
busy.
like you don't have time to breathe, which is mostly most people in society. They're just like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have time for this. But you have time to go out with your boys or with your girls, but that doesn't mean that you're taking care of yourself. You're just like, you know, like getting steam off.
Yeah. There's something we call the wheel of life. So I want you to picture a wheel in like a car. So, or let's say pizza. Pizza has eight pieces, right? So every piece is one part of your life. So there's the physical, there's emotional, there's spiritual, social, financial, career-wise, hobbies and family and friends. So you find that with you just do an analysis of like all these areas of your life and really rate them on like a scale of 1 to 5. So you'll find maybe in terms of money, sina, or career, it's like a 3, family, maybe 5. So you find that most people, their wheels are not turning because it's not like equal, it's not a circle. Nakumbuka ya 5 bob ya kitambo vilikuwa inakaa. So if you have a wheel that is like square, that, utapata your wheel is not moving. So the idea is you go and do an analysis, see the areas that are not working or the ones whose rating you'd want to increase, and start working on all of them. When you do that, then you feel accomplished. So for example, like if my let's say I'm 30, I'm not married, I don't have a child. If I look at that as my only identity, as a single childless person, then I might feel like I don't have a sense of purpose. But then if I look on the other hand of career and all these things, then it gives me a sense of purpose. Like you don't have to be defined by that one thing. So focus on the things that you can, focus on improving the different areas of your life so that you will always have something to fall to and something that defines who you are, but also the worth. You know, we feel like we will be worthy when? I saw something yesterday that was really good, that we should never define any season of our life as a waiting season. What are you waiting for? You could be just enjoying the season that you're in at the moment. So if I don't find worth in, say, being a student, I'm supposed to be a student at that moment. Or if I don't find worth in job searching, for example, then you find that I will always be questioning myself. Alafu utafika, you accomplish all these things, and then it's
and
like,
you're still very unsatisfied, you know.
Then you still want the same thing, the next thing and the next. So we need to find worth in whatever stage that we are. And that's also now defining ourselves. Like, even if I am jobless, even if I am single, even if I dropped out of college, I am still worthy, and there's still something about myself that I have to give.
Okay, so that unsatisfactory part, you know, of life is what our society is mostly made up of. Going back to young people, you find that for some of them, it's so unfortunate that the pressure, it's whereby they want to accomplish things by 15. What experience can you possibly have? Like you said, people are in school, but because of what you see on social and the access, and life is very fast. Maybe you're looking at your friends, they're from a well-to-do family, they have a particular phone, they live in a particular way or house or location, and you want all those things. But what you have is good. You know, you're not in a bad place, but it's just contrary to what you feel you would want to have, you know, at the end of the day. So by 19, you try and live as fast as you can, and you feel like you've lived life. Or by 25, and you're like, what is there to live for? So you see, that's an illusion. That's not the real perspective of life. But parents also, because they've invested in their children, expect that these children should accomplish or be motivated to do more than, you know, so how can young people especially make sense of this identity crisis, what they can do in like with what they're equipped with, you know, what they have in their arsenal, as opposed to just the peer pressure that comes, which is there, they find it.
Definitely comparing yourself is like a very big disservice, because you want to be, I want to be like Remy, but you have grown up differently, you had different parents, you went to different schools than I did, and just everything that has shaped you into who you are is very different compared to mine. So we need to, yes, we can look at the social media and like get encouraged, like see what other people are doing and be like, oh yeah, I'd want to do that. But then don't do the disservice of now thinking you're less than just because you're not that. Because there's usually this, I don't know if it's a quote, it's called the desiderata. It says that there will always be lesser and better people than you, and that's just how life is. But when you keep using that as a measuring tool to whether I am worth or not, then you will always find someone who is better than you and always feel bad about it.
But how hard? I know mostly what you'd say. I can picture it in my head. But how hard or easy is it to not compare worth to what one does?
How hard or easy?
Yes, because like I mentioned, it is mostly the discussion for anyone. Oh, your daughter does what? Or your son does what? Or like, what do you do, Marianne? You're oh, and then someone gauges what kind of respect they should give you. And then you go out walking around, man, like I'm so not accomplished. You know what I mean? And then part of the crisis just comes from there.
There's usually what we say. So the difference is, if yes, I might not like where I am. Like, in reality, I don't like where I am because I'd have wanted to be at a different place. The difference is whether you are content while working towards. So there's that. I am okay, like I may not be okay, but I am doing something about it. Whereas I would be not fulfilled at all, and that emotion now causes me to be stuck and not doing something. I get a lot of people in their late 20s who say they feel stuck, but then every time they want to do something, they can't seem to do it. They have procrastination. And why is that? Because I don't like where I am, and then I am like ashamed of that. So the emotions then overwhelm me to not doing something about it, and that's now the problem. So yes, I can compare, I can look at what other people are doing, but then also I still need to put in the work, because at the end of the day, if you don't put in the work, like, you know, we say you need to be a player in your own life. You don't sit there uko juu like a spectator. All right, so what are the things that one should consider about this cycle, you know, that we call life? Because like we said earlier, or like just continuously in this conversation, every stage has a crisis of sorts, whether good or bad, because even unexpected success can throw you off. You know, either you can get the syndrome, oh my goodness, imposter syndrome, yes, or the other of, you know, you just change and you'll be like, yeah, I deserve all this, you know, like, or a cool Kanye West moment, you know, like, yeah, thank you to me, you know what I mean? Yeah, so how does like when you have a healthy mind and you say, I'll go through this, how can you be gracious with yourself to allow yourself to just go through things, and whether good or bad, and just know that you're evolving? It doesn't have to be as bad or as insane as it looks, because this way we're saying bad with graciousness. Yes. Yeah. There's actually something we call self-compassion, which is like treat yourself with kindness in everything that you're going through. I think a lot of people, like I can even give myself as an example of, you know, the way when we grow up, as a overachieving child, like you're always getting good grades, so there's always like things that you're accomplishing. Later on, when life doesn't go the way you want, it can throw you off balance. It's like, oh my gosh, I thought my life was set out. And that's why nowadays we have quarter life crisis. Your time after campus and someone is not getting the job they wanted, they are not moving out of their parents' house, they're like, what is happening? So you really need to be careful on that and be compassionate, but also be realistic. Just because it was set out that you're supposed to be doing something, it's not always. Yes, it is something that is ideal, but the ideal is an ideal because it's not realistic to everybody.
Yeah.
So we need to have a lot of self-compassion. What that looks like is the things that you talk to yourself. So again, it goes back to your mind, and self-talk is, you know, that kind of voice that speaks to you. Sometimes inakukelelesha. It's like, how dare you? You're a failure, all these things. You need to be able to work on it and be able to
How do you work on that voice? Because for some people, man, there are very many.
Yeah.
And they're negative, they're not good. And by the time they're done listening to themselves, they're like, I need a break, a vacation from my head. You know?
Yeah. So you see, you can't run away from them. You can't silence them. We say thoughts are like a monkey. You know, the way a monkey goes from one branch to another, like I'll think about here, I'll think about the next thing, evil. So the goal is self-awareness again, to be aware of those thought patterns and then be able to change them. You can't say to your mind, stop thinking. You can only refocus it on something else. So for example, what would you tell a friend who maybe feels low? You encourage them, you talk to them nicely, but we don't do the same for ourselves. So you need to be very aware of what is going on, and that is why I mentioned the slowing down. I think I mentioned that even the last time. Like, we need to learn to slow down in our lives. Don't always be moving, because when you slow down, you can actually pay attention to the thought processes. Journal, if you can, write it down. If you have someone that you can talk to about what you're going through, even if it's a professional like I am, do that so that they can help you now to focus. Lastly, there's something we call affirmations. Mostly people do them in the morning. When you wake up, that's when your mind is like fresh and telling you all these things. So learn to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself positive things until you believe them. At first you don't. It sounds very delulu, but over time, when you continue practicing it, you start to believe it.
Okay. What happens when that quality of the voice in your head changes? You know, how does your life change? Because like you said rightfully, no one realizes the impact of what you tell yourself until it starts showing up in your life, you know, literally. You know, if you sit somewhere and you're continuously putting yourself down and you're before people and maybe they're complimenting, Marianne, you've got a good shirt, and the only thing Mary can do, like, this whole, like, you see, we joke about a lot of things which are actually very triggering if you look at it, but we don't take time to understand that it's a quality. We need to change the quality of what we say, which again contributes to this crisis that we're talking about.
Right. So the way it will change is that usually we say we are what we believe. Like, if I believe, like you said, black is a bad color, then I will just walk, you know, looking down and feeling shy and all these things. But if I believe that it's a great color, I will wear it and walk with confidence. So whatever you believe about yourself, about life, about relationships, the way people say, oh, fear men, fear women, if I believe that there's something wrong with me, that is how it will manifest even externally in terms of my behaviors, in terms of also what I attract in my life. So for example, even in light with the topic of identity crisis, if I go around the world believing there's something wrong with me or I am not good enough, then you find myself even wherever I go, I act like that. So then I go looking for validation uko nje. So if people say this is what is in, I'll follow that. If people say this is what is supposed to be done, I'll follow that. So we need to really work on the internal first, the person that you are within yourself, and the beliefs that you have that are positive. And like I said, even if you don't believe the positive, just keep doing it. The mind takes like 21 days to learn something new. So you keep doing it over and over, and you start to believe it, and it actually manifests externally.
All right, Marianne, we've come to the end of our conversation, and I'll give you a cool second to just give us your final thought.
Thank you so much. So thank you for having me, and it was this is an interesting topic and an important topic to speak about, because if we don't really know our identity and who we are in the world, we will not even, you know, fulfill our purpose or show up as who we are supposed to. So it's really important, and for someone who may be having a struggle, they should always seek out for help, and that is where I am. They can look for me, Therapist Marianne, anywhere, and they'll find me. But also just keep working, be intentional about who you are, and everything will work out.
All right, Marianne, thank you so much for joining us today, and you know, having this conversation that is quite intricate. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
Right, thank you so much for tuning into Wellness and of course Health and Wellness Tuesdays here on Morning Vibe. My name is Remmy Majala. Our guest has been Marianne Oruguru. She's a founder psychologist of Therapy by Marianne. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow.